Eyes and no eyes. Emperor Akbar, accompanied by his courtiers, often visited the riverfront for a stroll. He loved to watch the river and its changing facets. He also loved walking along the river bank in the company of the courtiers. During these outings, the emperor never discussed matters of state. He used the time to observe the flora and fauna of the land, or to examine the relation between man and nature, or to delve into man and his infinite moods. One day, the sky was overcast. Thunder and lightning held most people indoors. And the emperor came out with his retinue for a long walk. A few horse-drawn carriages followed at quite some distance, ready to pick up the royal party in case a sudden downpour started. The river is very moody, observed the emperor, after watching the wild rumble and tumble of the river. Very much like the Shahanshah, Birbal quipped. I'm what I'm always, the emperor protested. At the whimsical moody, Birbal did not cow down. Say that again. The emperor sounded quite upset. Shahanshah, most of the time you are kind and considerate, but not always. When you lose your temper, you turn into a fuming volcano. Everyone around you feels scared, mortally scared. If I may add, at once your anger subsides, you once again become friendly and fun loving. You are like the river, you too are moody and unpredictable at times, Shahanshah, Birbal added. Everyone is moody some time or the other, the emperor remarked. That's true, Shahanshah. You can afford to be moody, but not we, Birbal chuckled. Why didn't I say that earlier? The emperor's voice quivered a bit. Shahanshah, it's not your fault. We don't see what is apparent or evident always. Even those who can see often turn blind. A wise man had once said, some of us are blind all the time, and all of us are blind some of the time, Birbal replied. Did you hear him, Shahanshah? He said that all of us are blind some of the time. All of us, said he. He didn't leave even the Alampana out of the list of those who are blind some of the time. One of the courtiers, waiting for a chance to create a wedge between Birbal and the emperor, did not miss the chance. Birbal, the emperor, was strung to the quick. He turned red with rage and his mustache quivered. Shahanshah, if speaking the truth is a crime, I plead guilty. Birbal spoke softly but firmly. You wretch, do you say that I am blind some of the time? The emperor exploded. That's what the wise men of all time say, not me, Shahanshah. Birbal chose to be diplomatic. You must prove the truth or get ready to die. The emperor held out the threat. Shahanshah, give me a week's time, and I shall prove that even the mightiest of men on this earth acts like the blind sometimes. Birbal measured every word and spoke clearly, but he was guarded. You have just 1 week to prove your point. Do that and you live. If not, the emperor turned away abruptly. Birbal tried to stay in the group, but the emperor held out his finger, pointed it at him, and told him, no, I don't want to see your face any longer. Birbal sensed that the emperor was blind with fury. He would need time to get the anger out of his system. That won't be till prove my point. I have a week's time, a week's holiday. I don't have to report at the royal court every morning. I don't have to find answers to difficult problems. I can do what I like. For 1 week, my time is mine. People turned and walked home. Anger never lasts, it goes to a peak and then comes down. The emperor cooled down after a couple of hours. Then he realized that there was much truth in what Birbal had said. Nobody was far sighted enough to see everything. Everyone was blind some of the time. Then, though he had eyes, did not use them. Was it a matter of eyes and no eyes? Wise was the man who did not turn blind often, and even when he turned blind, regained his sight quickly. I am wise, the emperor told himself. It would be foolish of me to keep a wise counsel like a Birbal out. He decided then that he would let Birbal back into the fold. He hoped Birbal would come back soon. For 6 days he stayed away from the royal court. Akbar missed him very much. His absence made the court dull. The emperor often shouted at the courtiers for no reason whatever. They noticed that they knew that he was missing Birbal. On the morning of the 7th day, a courtier rode to the river front for a dip in the river. He dismounted, tied the horse to a stone pillow on the side, and strode to the bathing ghat. Then he noticed someone sitting under the shade of a neem tree, busily stringing a charpoy. Never before had he seen anyone choosing the river front for such an activity. That roused his curiosity. He went closer. Then he got a shock. The man who was stringing the chopper was none else than Birbal. Birbal! The courtier screamed. Birbal lifted his head and smiled. What are you doing? Birbal didn't say a word. Instead, he picked up a pad by his side and made a note on it. Then he returned to his work. Tell me, Birbal, what are you doing? The courtier asked loudly this time, but he got no reply. Birbal seemed totally involved in the work. Can't make out what he is up to, the courtier mumbled to himself while he went down the steps of the ghat for the bath. An hour later, he presented himself at the royal court. Already, a few courtiers had arrived at the royal court. Shahanshah, I have something unusual to tell you. He waited for the nod. Go ahead. I saw Birbal at the river front. Must have gone for a bath. The emperor found nothing odd about the report. Shahanshah, he was sitting in the shade of a tree and stringing a charpoy. Have you lost your head, you fool? The emperor wouldn't believe him. Shahanshah, I am speaking the truth. Nothing but the truth, the courtier replied. The emperor decided to check for himself. He set out for the river front. Some courtiers went along with him. At the river front, they saw Birbal sitting under the shade of a neem tree and stringing a charpoy. Go and find out what he's doing, the emperor told the courtiers. The oldest of the courtiers went close to the Birbal and greeted him. Birbal looked at him and smiled. Birbal, what are you doing? The courtier asked. Birbal merely smiled, not a word escaped his lips. Instead, he picked up the pad and scribbled something quickly. He then put the pad down and resumed stringing the charpoy. I think he has gone mad. The courtier went back and reported to the emperor. The emperor waited while the other courtiers took turns to go and find out what Birbal was doing. Every time someone asked that question, he picked up the pad and scribbled something, but he didn't speak a word. Has he turned dumb? The emperor wondered. Maybe he had turned deaf too, said the courtier. The emperor decided to find out for himself. He went close to Birbal and called out his name. Birbal quickly dropped the string he was holding in his hand and salaamed. Birbal, what are you doing? A smile touched his lips while he got hold of the pad and scribbled something. What have you written on the pad? The emperor was curious to find out. Shahanshah, I added your name to the list of people who have eyes. It behaves as if they have no eyes. Birbal passed on the pad to the emperor. Birbal, the emperor's voice had the cutting edge of a sharp knife. You have included my name too in the list? Yes, Shahanshah, because you too asked me. What are you doing? Didn't you see that water was stringing a charpoy? So, where was the need to ask me what I was doing unless Birbal left the words, "You're blind," unsaid. The emperor took time to check his anger. Shahenshah, I told you last week that even the wisest among us turns blind occasionally. You got angry and asked me to prove that I was right. I hope you'll pardon me, but I stand by my belief that all of us, though we are not blind, sometime or the other behave as if we have no eyes. Birbal purred softly. Birbal, you are right. The emperor broke into a loud laughter. This is the story, friends. Did you like it? Thank you.